Hello, this is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. We are intraday right now, and this is our weekly swing trade ideas video where we bring you stocks based on a variety of discretionary, technical, and quantitative criteria, all of which we break down for you in just a moment as we look through those setups. As always, these videos are sponsored by our good partners over at Investors Business Daily. We curate our long ideas from their stock list. You can get access to their stock list with a link in the description of this video. So we've got 5 names we're going to be looking at today, and we're going to jump right into it here with first the S&P 500, sort of a broad market take here, but it can lead to some actionable trade ideas. This is something we were talking about in last Friday's long form market analysis video, was just the fact that in the short term, so time frame matters here, but in the short term, the market looked a little bit sort of uneasy up here, trading in the 420s. And the reason we sort of outlined first was the VIX. We saw basically get cut in half from the upper 20s down to the mid-teens. And when we look here at where the S&P 500 is, looking at the SPY ETF, you can see we're just back to all-time highs. We essentially tagged it yesterday on the open, but take a look at these recent bars up here. So open at the high, going back to Tuesday of last week, open at the high, close at the low. This is the only exception. Wednesday, we basically put in this fairly doji sort of candles session, but look at Thursday's session, open towards the highs, close near the lows. Friday's session, open near the highs, close near the lows. Yesterday's session, open near the highs, close near the lows. And at the time of recording this, opening up and looking to close at the lows. So we seem to be, getting some selling kind of creeping in throughout the trading day. It doesn't have to lead to a full-on breakdown. It should just keep us on watch. If we start rolling over here, if we start breaking down below, 419, 418, then we could see this kind of spill over to a pullback in the market, maybe down into the lower 400s, put in a higher low, and then attack the highs again, something like that. So that's just the first thing to be aware. A little market context there for you short-term traders. Long-term, we're still seeing, healthy uptrends in consolidation patterns, and we're sort of waiting for this breakout. If for some, tomorrow we come in and we just launch higher through 422, then all bets are off. Then it's straight to the upside, and it's a breakout, it's momentum. We can put on some risk and try and, of course, manage it, but that's sort of the thought process. So that's the high level on the S&P 500. EEM, this is a chart I posted yesterday, I think actually on the YouTube channel as well. Take a look here at emerging markets. So this is the emerging markets ETF through iShares, and you can see basically what's going on here is the fact that it did go sideways for about 4 or 5 months or so in here. And take a look at this week's session, breaking out to new highs. Got this gap up yesterday, we're holding up right now. So EEM, sort of just a nice kind of breakout. Looks like it wants to run back up to the February highs here for emerging markets. So those are 2 sort of just my eyeballing discretionary sort of comments on the market. Let's look at some technical trade setups. So if you're a TC2000 user, you can download these specific scans that I'm finding these setups on our website. So the first here is CELH. This is hitting our 52-week highs on volume scan. Keeping it very simple here, we're basically looking for stocks hitting 52-week highs and doing it on heavier volume. And Celsius here is a pretty darn looking nice setup. You can see this has been going sideways since the beginning of the year. We've been finding resistant sellers showing up in the upper 60s, and today we're blasting through it. We're 14% up, and it is a bit of a chase now, but if you are a longer term sort of trend follower, if you're looking at this on a weekly time frame, this is about as picture perfect as it gets, and this one could really start to move here in the coming months. So short term, it is overextended. Maybe you're waiting for a bit of a pullback or some cooling off, but I really like the breakout momentum here, and this one looks like it wants to move higher. Next up is PRCH. So this one here, Porch Group, is hitting our pullback strength scan. And this one here, you can see, has been pulling back over the short term. I really like this pattern here. So we've got this nice little, lower volume. We had a couple of high volume days, but you know, a fairly orderly pullback after a strong run up in May. So we had a 60% move from the May lows to the May highs. Then we saw it retrace basically 15% of that move. And then take a look at today's session. We are coming out strong, taking out the prior day's highs and starting to move back up. And if we zoom out a little bit, we've got a lot of cluster over here of prior supply. So I like the potential here in PRCH hitting our pullback strength scan today. Next up is SEER. So Seer here, this one is definitely the most speculative name, and this is what I would generally say is a more advanced trade setup. This is in a long-term, basically nothing pattern. I mean, if anything, it's down. So I don't necessarily like that, but I do, you know, want to bring this to the attention here for anyone that wants to be a little courageous or can manage risk in a tougher sort of trend. Take a look at the volume that is coming in here on Seer, SEER, and then take a look at just, you know, the bullish engulfing bar. We basically opened at, you know, sort of new lows here today. And now we're springboarding higher and we're engulfing the past 5 or so days on extremely heavy volume. So maybe the low is in. I know nothing about this company. So do your homework on it and, you know, manage risk responsibly. But if you like the name long term for some fundamental reason, maybe you're getting an early sort of action here of buyers kind of stepping up. So bullish engulfing bar, heavy volume. That's what I'm looking at there. Last but not least, I could not leave us without a bearish idea. So let's take a look at a sell setup here in AMBA. This is hitting our high volume week close scan. So this is essentially looking for stocks that are, you know, putting in a high volume session and a slightly above average range and a weak close. And AMBA is hitting all of that today. You can see it's in the semiconductor space, which, you know, has been historically a very strong space here, market leadership kind of area for the market. But if we take a look at AMBA specifically, we essentially saw it from a technical standpoint run up into this April resistance here. This is where sellers were showing up in April around $105. We essentially tagged it today, and then you can see the abrupt sort of thrust below there. Sellers came in, heavy volume is coming in. We're closing towards the lows. Again, a little more of a advanced sort of setup here. I mean, shorting stocks, I think generally is just a little bit tougher. But again, it goes back to how we opened up the conversation today. If we do think the SPY has a potential to sort of roll over here, then something like an AMBA, which is, you know, at resistance, already sort of telegraphing the you know, selling pressure here. If this can get follow through tomorrow, you might have a short setup back down into, you know, the 90s or so. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at it. Again, please do your homework on all of these names. Don't have any positions in anything that I discussed here today. So no disclaimers to disclose on that front. So that is what I have. Leave a comment below. Let me know what looks interesting to you. Do you think this SPY rollover is going to happen? Or do you think this is just more kind of chop before we break back out to the upside? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you're looking at. Thanks as always for tuning in to these videos. Check out our website if you want to download any of those scans for TC2000. And I thank you, and I'll see you back here on Friday for the long form market analysis video.